It's the Cool Kids Club. You've been invited to the Cool Kids Club. It's so exciting, yeah. Justin likes monsters, yeah. And Amy likes words in the Cool Kids Club. Cool Kids Club.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Cool Kids Club podcast. I am one of your hosts, Justin.
And I am your other host, Amy.
Hey girl.
Together. Hey boy. Hey boy. Together we are America's favorite siblings.
Oh yes.
Trademark pending.
Oh yes.
Will we ever get that trademark, you think?
Well, you know, there's a lot of red tape.
Oh, there's so much paperwork.
And it just moves at a glacial pace.
Yeah.
You know?
I think we should just be satisfied to know that we are, and that the good people of the world have chosen.
I haven't had anyone dispute the claim.
No.
I'm just saying that.
It's not like a People's Choice Award. Like, I'd rather, like, the people have voted somewhere. I don't know where.
We're the people's champions, is what you're saying.
It's exactly what I'm saying.
Yes.
Guys, we're back. It feels like it's been a while since we've done it. It hasn't.
It hasn't.
It's been the exact
Not really.
same amount of time. A lot of life has happened in the last couple. Maybe that's why. Yeah, a lot's happened in the last couple weeks. Just to give you an update on the Cool Kids, we're doing good. But our mom had a pretty major surgery a couple weeks ago, and we knew it was going to happen and everything. It wasn't an emergency, but so we have been the last couple weeks. We've been helping her out, taking care of her, and the coolest mom in the world. Everybody will be very happy to know is doing well. And recovering well. So
yes.
So that's why it feels like it's been forever since we've done this, because just a lot's happened in the meantime. So yeah, all is well on this front, but we've been busy last couple weeks. So, but we are everything's going good, and we are getting back to podcasting today.
Well, and oh man, can I just say that I feel like in doing this podcast, I've realized that perhaps the single greatest nostalgic force in my life was Nickelodeon. And when we do these, we do 100%. Nickelodeon episodes, it feels like going back to our roots, you know?
Yeah.
Like, doing this podcast has really made me realize the gigantic impact that television network had on me as a kid.
Yeah.
And we've got another great example of it today. We're doing Nickelodeon game shows.
Ooh, very specific. We're about to talk about some big, heavy hitters.
Yes.
For Nickelodeon.
So we've talked about Snick in the past. Mm-hmm. We've talked about Nick at Night.
Nickelodeon Studios.
We did talk about Nickelodeon Studios, where a lot of these were filmed that we're going to be talking about today. We did
Nick at Night. Is that it? Is that all the Nick ones we've done so far?
Well, we did like Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Right, we did a specific episode. Yeah. Yes, that's true.
But we've never really done anything with game shows, and I feel like that's a huge category, like especially in the earlier days of Nickelodeon. And by early, I mean, no, Nickelodeon was around since like the late 70s, but when I say early days, I really mean like the late 80s.
Kind of the Nickelodeon when it was our generation, when it was kind of rebranded, really, and sort of retooled.
Yes,
and they started becoming
game shows were
really
huge.
Popular.
Like, that was like really a thing that put them on the map, and I think they were cheap to produce, and especially once they had Universal Studios or the Nickelodeon Studios open at Universal. I mean, it was even easier to produce because you could film all of them right there on location.
Yeah. And we would talk about we talked about when we did our Nickelodeon Studios that, you know, you could go and tour and you could literally see them, you know, doing,
I mean, that's the contestants on most of these game shows is like families who are on vacation at Universal Studios.
Yep, exactly. You could get tickets, I assume, for, you know, specific shows and stuff like that. I know we talked about you could see like all that, I think, being filmed.
This is all that.
This is all that. Oh yeah, classic.
I'm not going to try to do the rap because I don't know it well enough.
No, me either.
And it would be a travesty.
It would. I'd have to cut the whole thing in post.
Cut that.
Cut that. So we're talking Nick game shows today, and there were a lot. Some
There's
not
there's
as
a
popular,
ton. Yeah.
or as long running as others. So, like we kind of say in any episode we do like this, where we're covering a really broad topic. We may not talk about your favorite,
Sure.
or like an obscure one that you remember. But please talk to us like on social media. Like, when we post about this episode, like if there's one that we didn't talk about, that you're like, oh my God, do you remember this one? Because it's possible we don't, or it's possible that will spark
and I did sort of,
memory for
yeah,
us.
exactly. And I did sort of deliberately leave out a few that you might remember, really just for the sake of time. So we're not doing a 3-hour episode on game shows.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I think
could.
we're gonna hit the majority of the high points today, and I don't think there is a higher point on the topic of Nickelodeon game shows. It begins and ends with Double Dare, right?
On your mark. Get set. Go!
These two teams are tossing at targets, trying to be the first to stick their partners with Velcro balls. Who's ever got the sharpest aim will win $20 and control of the show where making bullseyes wins you dough. Double Dare!
Completely. Yeah.
Tell me about Double Dare, because Double Dare is iconic. Double Dare is like the iconic Nickelodeon game show, right? I mean, there's a couple that have really stood the test of time, but I mean, Double Dare was like the OG.
It was the OG. It was also their longest running. And had, different iterations, had like spin-offs, if it kind of, just the most iconic. It ran from 1986, which again, we're talking, this is early modern Nickelodeon.
It was the first, really big, successful Nickelodeon show.
Yes.
Was Double Dare. Going back as early as 86, like,
Yeah.
That's...
I wasn't even born yet, actually.
Yeah.
So, 86 and ran until 93. And, of course, it did have a couple little revivals.
And it was constantly in syndication.
Yes.
So, I mean...
Oh, my God, constantly.
Yes, they were making new episodes until 93, but, I mean, Double Dare was on, like, every day.
Constantly. Like
at least once a day there was.
I'm sure I've seen almost every episode of Double Dare, but either when it was on or in syndication, it was always on Nickelodeon.
And plus, you had Double Dare was the original, and then there was Family Double Dare, which I remember a lot of, where you bring the adults in. Maybe even more. I even remember that more so than the original.
Because it'd always be like two
kids.
parents, two kids. It was just have. Yeah, I remember Family Double Dare a lot and being like, oh my God, what I wouldn't kill for our family to go on Double Dare.
Oh, I know. That was the dream, right? Besides...
That was the dream.
Besides, like, the ultimate kid dream back then, I feel like, was, like, doing one of the toy runs. Like, the Nickelodeon, toy runs where you go...
Toys R Us or the KB Toys.
Yeah. But other than that, it was being on a Nickelodeon game show for me. Like, that was, like, as far as, that was the thing. And it never happened.
No, sadly it didn't. But at least we have, hundreds of episodes of Double Dare that we could watch, at least,
that are mostly all on Paramount Plus, which I don't have at the moment, but Paramount Plus has a lot of old Nick content, and I had a free trial a while back, and actually Brian and I watched some Double Dare. We just pulled up some random episodes from the late 80s and just watched some Double Dare.
Oh, I love it. I used to love Double Dare.
And super sloppy Double Dare, which was just extra sloppy.
It was just extra sloppy.
Yeah. You just think of like the lunch lady from Billy Madison, just she making them extra sloppy. That's what super sloppy Double Dare was. And also Double Dare was the I feel like inspiration for a lot of these shows, in that one of the big themes we're going to see is sloppy and messy, gross stuff. A lot of food waste. I feel like, looking back on it.
Oh, definitely a lot of food waste. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and were they even sliming people at this, like?
Yeah, because sliming started on.
When did that start?
Sliming actually originated on You Can't Do That on Television.
That's right. Okay, that's right.
But slime was a big part of Double Dare as well. So, of course, the iconic host of Double Dare is Mark Summers. a personal hero, a Cool Kids Club Hall of Fame. We need a Hall of Fame.
We do need a Hall of Fame.
Not just for movies.
Not a movie one.
No.
Yeah.
Cool Kids Club
Mark
Hall
Summers.
of Fame, and Mark Summers could be the original inductee, because there was like very few personalities, I feel like, in my childhood that were as ubiquitous as Mark Summers. Like, he did not just do Double Dare. Like, you saw him all the time if you were watching Nickelodeon. He was involved in so much stuff. And by all accounts, is like a super nice guy. And plus, then he hosted that great Food Network show years later.
Unwrapped. That's exactly what I was about to mention.
Unwrapped. Yeah, I love that show.
Yeah, about how to make candy. And I used to watch that all the time. Loved Unwrapped. So, yeah. It's about how candies are made.
Yeah. No, it's great, and we love Mark Summers.
We love Mark Summers.
First episode premiered on October 6th, 1986.
Yep.
And 1986. Now, this was, I believe, like, and we discussed in our Nickelodeon Studios episode, these original, like, season or two was filmed, in, like, Philadelphia, I want to say?
Yeah, maybe something like that. I know a lot of stuff was filmed in Canada, but I don't think this was.
I don't think this one was, until it got moved to Nick Studios, once Nick Studios was built and opened.
Became a thing, yeah. So what was the point, then, of Double Dare? Like, what was the whole premise?
Well, there's a real flimsy initial premise that has, like, round one is trivia questions. You know? Like, no one's here for the trivia. No one's here to listen to kids answer trivia questions.
They're here to watch you dig in the nostril of a giant nose.
Yeah, so basically,
if
you get asked a question and you have the choice of, like, we can answer, or if we're confident the other team doesn't know it, we can dare them or double dare them to answer it. And if they get it right, they get double the points. But then they can or you dare them, they can double dare you back.
That's right.
But
and you have to do a physical challenge.
But no one cares about that, because what the meat and potatoes, often literally meat and potatoes,
exactly,
of Double Dare are the physical challenges, right? Mm-hmm. The physical challenge, and then the obstacle course.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that obstacle course at the end.
So the physical challenges would be things like filling a container, past a line, with like, whatever liquid, like milk or
with like a straw or something,
or
something ridiculous,
or like catching a certain number of things.
And there was always messy.
It was always messy.
There's always slime or whipped cream.
Whipped cream, milk.
Milk, gross.
Yeah.
You'd say, "Oh God, the smell! You would smell so milky. I hate it." I also hate the word milky.
This reminds me, and I don't know if anyone else. I know you experienced it, because I'm sure we experienced it together. But I'm sure other people out there have as well. We used to have, when I don't remember our school field days. First of all, field day.
Do they still do field day?
I don't know.
I think they do.
Haven't been in school in a long time. They probably do.
God.
But
I think they do.
Remember the field days when we were in the Upward Bound program, and it was like it was all like gross out, messy gags and like stuff.
Yes,
I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it.
There was like a chocolate there was always like a chocolate syrup war, like at the end. We didn't even do field day anymore.
That's probably good, because it was disgusting.
Yeah, it was always really gross, and then you'd
get like covered in
100
like
kids
ketchup and mustard,
to shower,
all in the little shitty dorm room showers, all at the same time.
And then all the food that would be in the showers from like everybody rinsing off.
Gross. I refused to participate, I think, after the first one.
Did you?
Yeah. I wasn't into it, but it was
always
double
many
dare.
Injuries.
It was
there was
very
always
injuries.
Double Dare. Yeah.
It was very Double Dare. So yeah, you'd be like, catching eggs or some shit, or
like
a lot of eggs, and that's a theme that, again, along with the messy, sloppy theme that we're going to see along a lot of these game shows, it's just so many eggs. They were using a lot of eggs. God,
can you imagine how much that'd be worth now?
The cost of an egg? The cost of eggs, right? Yeah, like every Double Dare episode would cost like what an episode of Game of Thrones costs. Like, it'd be like an HBO Prestige show, just because they're going through a couple dozen eggs per episode.
Oh, man. Yeah, the egg budget would be out of control.
Outrageous.
They'd have to switch to something else.
Folks, where's the lie? Folks.
Yeah, these were very messy. They always involved food. Now I don't remember the obstacle course being as food based. But am I wrong?
It was certainly
It was still messy.
it was still messy. You had the Sunday slide, if you'll recall,
That-
which is
yeah,
down into
with
like
all
an
the whipped
ice
cream.
cream playground that's full of whipped cream and like the chocolate. There was like chocolate sauce, like you slid through the chocolate on the slide.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
But obstacle course was more like a combination of you're going to get really messy with like physical stuff. So it was sort of a combination of both. So you had like the 1-ton human hamster wheel, remember? Like
I remember that. Yep.
Exactly what it sounds like, a big hamster wheel you run in.
Yeah. To what end? I don't remember. I guess to get you had to get
flags.
Yeah, you had to get the little flags. I remember that.
You remember Pickett, the giant nose?
That's the one I think of the most. It was
probably
so
me
gross.
too. Probably me too. The
Yeah, there
giant
was a
nose you had to
giant
dig around
nose
in all the boogies.
with a bunch of boogies. Could you imagine being on the janitorial staff for Double Dare?
I mean they were probably having fun, you know.
I mean, the mess after every show.
You probably go around back of Universal Studios on any given night, and there's just like some sad janitor dude out there like hosing off the big Pickett nose.
Oh God!
Being like, I can't let these boogies crust they'll crust if you leave them on there for too long.
I wonder what they made the boogies out of.
Probably something with the slime, I imagine,
Because they were green.
Yeah, it was probably something like oatmeal, like dyed oatmeal or something like that. Maybe I don't know.
Want to know
cans of Hormel chili. I don't know.
Oh God, I want to be in the room with the person who came up with these ideas, and then they were like, "Yes."
Let me tell you,
absolutely.
watching
Yes.
these as an adult, particularly Double Dare, like you're just like. Now that you're like, we're at the age where we're older than basically everyone involved in this show, at least on screen.
Oh yeah.
You're like, wow, this is so DIY, and you can just tell they're just like bullshitting and having a great time, just making people do funny, gross stuff.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
There's not much to it. Also, the set of Double Dare, I feel like, is really iconic with like the blue tiles and how colorful everything was, and all that. Like,
I loved it.
Memphis '90s style like patterns on everything, and it was wonderful. I love everything about Double Dare.
Double Dare is great, and probably the one show I feel like when you mention Nick game shows that pretty much everybody is going to remember immediately.
Well, yeah, it was certainly one of the big ones, and I feel like there's a handful that get mentioned, you know, first when you bring up the topic of Nickelodeon game shows. Another one, of course, being Guts.
Do you have it? Do you have it? Do you have it?
Don't you mean Global Guts?
Global,
or is that different?
Guts. Well,
no, it's the same thing.
It's kind of
Global Guts.
It's the same. It's the same.
Guts
show.
is just the shorthand.
Well, Global Guts would have people from different countries. Remember?
Oh, so that. Okay. So it'd be like almost like special episodes of Guts. Like it wasn't its own
Guts
thing.
International. I mean, it was. It would kind of. They would film some Global Guts and then film regular Guts, and they were both just kind of. I think it was more of like a spin-off in the sense that it's got like kind of an extra gimmick, but the game was pretty much the same from what I remember.
Oh, okay.
Tell us about Guts.
Oh man! Now this is hosted by another staple of our childhood, Mike O'Malley.
Yeah. Mike O'Malley Mania was running wild in the 90s, in the early 90s.
O'Malley Mania, yeah. Between Mark Summers and Mike O'Malley, I feel like they just had my childhood on lock. Like they had it taking
the Mark and Mike connection.
Yes. I wonder if they were friends. I like to think they were friends.
I like to think so, but I don't know.
Yeah, I like to think they were hanging out, you know. Hanging out at the Aggro Crag.
Hanging out at the crag, hanging out at the big nose.
Yeah, you know. Well, so this one came on a little bit later, closer to the end of Double Dare's run. This one started in 1992 and ran until 95, and then, of course, had a little revival later on. As
almost every one of these have had some sort of revival attempt.
Yeah, I'm sure. So this one, this was not messy necessarily, right?
No, it wasn't a Double Dare.
This was not messy.
No, it wasn't a Double Dare-esque messy game show.
This was much more, I mean, the challenges in Double Dare were physical, but this is much more athletic, if that makes sense.
You know what what I think of when I think of it puts me in mind of American Gladiators.
That very much, and the set I remember
Yeah.
kind of gave me that vibe as well.
It
kinda
looked like
American
it looked like a
Gladiators for kids.
it looked like a big like futuristic sports arena
Oh, it did.
with the gigantic
Actually,
artificial mountain in the middle of it.
I'm gonna look up that set right now because I just want to look at it and see if it is.
It wouldn't be a
How
Cool
I
Kids
remember
Club
it.
episode without us Googling things in real time.
Yeah, well, I know how much the people love that.
They do.
Oh God, yes! And you had the blue, the red, and the purple.
Yep.
Those were the team colors, and you had that. Oh, the aggro crag.
Hey,
I'm just
Hager
looking at
Crag.
It absolutely
One of
is
my
how I
most
remember
one of
it.
the most coveted pieces of I feel like nostalgia memorabilia for me would be a piece of the Aggro Crag.
Ooh, I wonder how much that runs.
Don't know. Haven't looked.
I could
We
live
should-
Google it.
You're gonna want to
There's
live
old Mike
eBay that.
O'Malley.
Do you remember
Yeah.
Mo, the referee?
Was that the girl?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I do remember her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always liked
Yeah,
Mo.
well, you had to have a You had to have a referee.
Well, sure.
Yeah. You got to make sure everything's fair. Yeah. So the challenges would be, well, you had 3 kids, blue, red, and purple, and then they would do different sports, think American Gladiators. You know,
I'm always
kind
thinking
of
about
thing.
American Gladiators, if I'm being honest with you.
It's easier actually to find a time when I'm not American Gladiators.
It's always sort of a constant in my head.
Yeah, yeah. And then this would all culminate. The very last challenge would be the crag.
The aggro.
The aggro crag.
It's aggro, bro.
Which is an artificial mountain. And it would be lit up, like, it would be divided into 3. Like, there'd be this strip over here was lit up with blue and then red and then purple. And so that's where the contestants would go up in their section and try to get to the top. There'd be a big button. Or no, there were buttons along the
There
way.
were buttons
weren't
along
there?
the way that they had to push. These, like, actuator buttons that
Yes,
would, like,
they would
light
light
up
up
parts
and-
of the mountain.
That's right. That's right. And there were different obstacles. There'd be like rocks falling down at them and stuff, right? There'd be like stuff
Yes.
trying to keep them from, yeah. And couldn't they,
Obstacles, if you will.
could they try to mess up the other contestants too? I feel like they could, right?
I feel like, yeah, they could, try
Like
to...
if they had like a foam rock or something, I think they could like try to mess up the other people with that.
Well,
So,
I mean, you gotta
correctly.
be in it to win it when you're on Guts. It takes
exactly.
It takes guts.
It takes guts. You're trying to get a piece of that crag.
They ain't here to make
You know-
friends. I'm here to get that crag.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
And it was a glowing. Remember, it was a glowing piece.
Glowing
of crag.
piece of the crag that you won. That you won. Oh man,
Nickelodeon was so fucking cool.
it was cool as shit.
love
It really
Nickelodeon.
was.
I feel like you are either, not that you didn't watch both, but you're either a Nickelodeon kid or you were a Disney kid. As far as what you watched the most of, I think. And since we did not have Disney Channel, as we've mentioned many times, we were Nickelodeon kids through and through.
Still am really.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm talking, we constantly were watching Nickelodeon.
Oh yeah.
And I feel like Guts was definitely an after-school show that was always on
Oh,
between
yes.
coming home from school and dinner,
Yes.
right? Like always watch some Guts.
Yeah.
At that time.
Yeah, that was like
Yeah.
mid-afternoon, 3-4 o'clock.
Yeah.
And I always think so. The two I think of that always go hand in hand to me are Guts and Legends of the Hidden Temple.
Legends of the Hidden Temple. With your guide, Kirk Fogg.
Yes. Well, I was gonna say that's another great after-school one. I feel like that was always.
And they must have always aired together, I feel like.
Yes.
Because Legends of the Hidden Temple was 93 to 95, its original run. So pretty much the same.
So pretty much
almost the same years as Guts.
Gosh, that didn't have a very long run. I felt like that show was always on.
Oh, it was always always on.
It was just ubiquitous. It was just always there.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, they would film enough of these to like make it to syndication, and then they would air them in syndication for years.
Yeah.
So it's like, to say that Legends of the Hidden Temple was only 93, 95, that doesn't mean it wasn't still airing through the 90s.
You know what? It's still alive in my heart.
It is.
You know?
It is. Kirk Fogg, he lives right in my heart.
Yeah. Well, I am going to say, though, Kirk Fogg is nowhere in the same stratosphere as our Mark Summers or our Mike O'Malley.
No, I mean, I've got nothing against Kirk Fogg, but he's no Mark Summers.
Probably couldn't pick him out of a lineup. Can't even picture him right now, actually.
Okay.
But he was kind of like an Indiana Jones. I think he was a little too nerdy to be Indiana Jones, but that was kind of the get. Well, of course, you had the the Legends of the Hidden Temple in general looked like an Indiana Jones movie, basically.
That's the whole sort of premise. It's all sort of inspired by like Raiders of the Lost Ark, kind of, but with like a with a Mexican South American kind of bend to it, with like the giant Olmec. Remember Olmec?
Oh, the big talking head. Yes.
Well, the big talking head, the mascot, the face, literally of.
The literal face.
Literal rock face of Legends of the Hidden Temple.
Oh,
and he talked like this, and he was constantly narrating everything. And then he would have to tell a story, and it would go on and on forever. And then he would tell you about the artifact that's hidden in the sanctuary.
Oh my God, that was great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh man, yeah, that was good. Now, Justin, which was your favorite of the 6 teams? Oh. Did you have one that you always rooted for?
So we have, so there's always 6 teams. You always start with 6.
And it would be pairs, right?
It would be
2 in each team?
2 in each team.
Okay.
And there were colors combined with animals. So you had the red jaguars.
The Jaguars.
The blue barracudas. Green monkeys. Orange iguanas. Purple parrots.
Of course.
And silver snakes.
Those were never my favorite.
Let me get my tail.
I hate snakes. Hate them.
I mean, the thing is, my favorite
like you were always a blue barracuda.
My favorite color's blue, so, I was probably always rooting for blue barracuda, but I would also say purple parrots and green monkeys would probably be my next choices on those. What about you?
I'm thinking I was probably a green monkeys or purple parrots.
Yeah, that sounds about
Maybe
right.
orange iguanas. Yeah. If there'd been a pink team, I'd have been all about that. But I'm sure purple and green, I think, were probably the ones I was going with. So that would now, unlike the other shows we've talked about, people would actually be eliminated each round, right? Because then
people would be eliminated
with only 2.
Yes.
2 teams at the end competing for, the big thing. But, in our other shows, it was just 3 contestants, like, the whole time, basically.
Yeah. So if I remember correctly, Legends of the Hidden Temple is kind of structured in 3 rounds. So the first round is the moat. And the set of Legends of the Hidden Temple is so good, too, because, like we said, it's kind of inspired by, obviously, Indiana Jones, that type of thing. But it was this great, and we'll see it in another show.
Lots of big, moving, sliding rocks is what I'm...
Yes.
What I'm picturing.
And like a cross section of like a temple.
Rooms and stuff.
Like rooms, which there's another show we'll talk about here in a minute, Finders Keepers, that kind of does that same thing as well. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
But you had the moat to start out with, and you'd have to like cross the moat in like a certain way, and it, like it's like basically the premise is always the same, as you have to cross the moat, but then like each episode they would throw like different stuff or like a little twist.
Yeah.
And then the first 4 teams to do that move on to round 2. So you're getting 2 teams eliminated.
2 teams?
2 teams? Yes!
Yes, it happened naturally. We didn't have to force it or anything.
Round 2, which the 4 teams would move on to round 2. The steps of knowledge. Here's where we get lots of Olmec talking.
Olmec. Talk to us, Olmec.
Olmec tells the episode's story. And the artifact, this would remain the theme for the rest of the episode.
Oh shit! This had the light up steps.
Yes, this is where you
Literal steps of knowledge.
literal steps of knowledge where you move down.
Fuck, I remember
you
that.
answer the questions correctly, and you move down in the light up steps. And the first two teams to reach the bottom move on to the final round. And so you're eliminating another 2 in this round.
Oh, Justin,
Those light up steps.
I had forgotten about those, and that has just like brought forth. It's unlocked a memory.
Nostalgasm. Do you remember the light up steps?
Yeah. Damn, this show was fire.
It was.
Just remembering how good it was.
And perhaps the most memorable part of Legends of the Hidden Temples Round 3,
Yeah.
which is the temple run. You have this wonderful cross-section, like two level stage built
and
of
it's like, you know,
different rooms.
It's like you've cut a house in half and you're looking in it.
That's what
Or
a
temple,
cross-section
if you
is,
will.
yes.
Well, so you'd be able to see them go, you know, from room to room, and
Now this had like actors and stuff. Like obviously there'd be obstacles and stuff in every room, and you would have actors popping up. So you'd have the pendants of life. Remember?
Oh,
and if they like
yeah,
actors
okay.
like got you, you had to give them a piece of the pendant.
Oh shit, that's right. Man,
Yeah,
this
so
show was great.
they basically tell you where the artifact is, and then you have to like run the obstacle course, get it, and then
Try to get it.
bring it back. And if I remember correctly, it was like once you got the artifact, or like if you had like all your pieces of the pendant or something when you got the artifact, it like unlocked everything, so you could like run back really quick. Like all the like all the like locked windows and doors you got to crawl through, and all the actors would go away, and you could just like run back really quick because you only had like a couple minutes to do it, I think, at most.
Oh yeah, that's right. Oh gosh, I'd forgotten all about that. I'm gonna have to watch an episode of this when we're
Legends
done.
of the Hidden Temple was a great game show.
Is this also on Paramount Plus?
It is, yes.
Now you have in the notes here that. And is this a typo that it also ran from 2001 to 22, or was that supposed to be 02?
That was supposed to be 02. It was.
Because I was like, did it have an awesome revival that I don't know about that's been running for 20 years?
Hold on,
No.
hold on one second, because I don't know if it was a 2001 to 2002, or I think it might have been 2021.
21 to 22, I see.
Because there was a pretty recent.
I wish it was 2001 to 2022.
I know, right? It's supposed to be 2021 to 2022.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there was now that you said that, it does, I do remember hearing about that, the little revival, because they all have revivals, every one of them.
Yeah, just about.
Yep,
except for the next one on our list here. This is, I
Yeah.
think, the only one that we are going to do. No, there's one more that doesn't have a revival.
Wow.
So, as I've said, I feel like the last couple episodes, especially, where we've sort of got on a new schedule recording, and I will get up on Sunday mornings, and I'll usually put something on the TV as I sort of get the notes together and get stuff prepped for the show and get ready to record to sort of get me in the mood for it. And today I was like, I'm just going to find because you can go on, if you weren't aware of it, you could go on YouTube and find all kinds of programming, old programming blocks that people have uploaded from like VHS tapes that they recorded back in the day. So I found a random programming block from Nickelodeon 1991. And after we got through some just absolute killer commercials and little bumpers and promos, the first show started up, and I'll be damned if it wasn't wild and crazy, kids.
Welcome to Wild and Crazy Kids! The show that goes anywhere and does anything to find kids having fun!
Oh, shit.
Wild and crazy, kids.
Crazy kid.
Featuring Omar Gooding.
I was going to say, I remember Omar Gooding more than anything else about this show.
God, I remember watching this a lot. This was
Brother
like...
to Cuba.
Brother to Cuba.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This show to me feels like a late morning show.
Ooh, yes,
it
does.
Like it's like Nick Jr. just ended, and we made the switch from Nick Jr. to Nickelodeon, and this is like one of the first things. This is at like 10 in the morning, 10:30 in the morning.
Yes.
Wow,
This
they're
one
crazy
was-
kids.
For some reason, when I think of this show right now, I'm thinking of Omar Gooding, like, with a microphone talking to someone at the top of, like, a giant inflatable slide.
Yeah.
It's, like, about to go down.
Sure,
that's what I just...
that's-
That's pretty much what this was.
That's fair. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And in watching this, it was super obvious that all of the episodes of Wild and Crazy Kids were, almost all of them, were filmed in public parks
Really?
in the LA area. Yeah, it's very obvious when you watch it that it's just like people hanging out in a park. Except for there were several episodes that they taped at theme parks. They did episodes at Universal Studios, and then they did episodes at Six Flags, also out in California.
Okay, yeah. I'm remembering that now. Now, this was another kind of messy...
It was for sure. This was
Well, it
sort
had
of
messy.
This was sort of a combination of like sports type of games and messy games. So it was kind of like a much more lo-fi DIY version of Guts in the sense that it's got like athletic competitions, and then you also had the Double Dare-esque messy.
But these are definitely
messy
more
games.
field day competitions.
This is
like dizzy bat and three-legged soccer, and like these are very field day.
Yes, it's like field day with a slight budget.
Yeah,
And just in the
but
episode,
not much because they're just doing it in a public park.
because they're doing it in
They
public.
may not even have. You know what we don't know is at the end of every episode they're being run off by authorities. They just cut it off before we can see the cops running after them.
Yeah. These are illegal shoots, I'm sure.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
No cop's gonna let you dump a bunch of like navy beans on some kids in a park. They're just not gonna let you do it.
They just don't allow it. Strict Navy bean policies.
Lots of stuff with slime, of course,
Of course.
on Wild and Crazy
Classic.
Kids.
Yeah.
I was watching as I was watching it this morning again with the eggs. So many eggs.
Eggs must have been like a penny a piece back then or something. Well, how many eggs were they buying?
The Holy Trinity of Nickelodeon game show elements, I feel like, is 1, slime,
Of course.
2, eggs, and 3, cream pies.
Yeah, I completely agree. This show incorporated them all.
I remember they had several episodes where pro wrestlers came on and they did like a tug of war. Do you remember that?
I do not.
Yeah, just hanging out in the
not remember that.
park, just tug of war with some kids.
They had like a crab steals the bacon situation.
They did have again, like little twists on like traditional playground games sort of thing.
Does anybody else remember?
Splash
I feel
football was where you like had to catch the football while you were diving into a pool.
Oh, yeah.
Remember that one?
Oh, and then we would try to recreate that at any time we were in a pool, of course.
I mean, if
little
I'm in a pool,
Nerf.
if I'm in a pool with a diving board and there's a Nerf football around, I'm gonna try to catch it while I come off that diving board.
Yeah, obviously. What are you, a monster?
No,
Yeah.
I'm not.
I wonder, with Steal the Bacon, Crab Steals the Bacon, I wonder what other people called that game. Because I feel like that's like a colloquial... Like, I feel like that
I think the game was just called
has
Steal the
many
Bacon.
names. Our mom always called it Crab Steals the Bacon, because I think that's
Because
what
we had to crab walk.
they called it. Because you do the crab walk. But I think that's what it was called when she was little, or where she was from.
Okay.
So, like, that's what I wonder. And in this, it's called Pass the Bucket.
Yes.
So, I'm interested to know. The concept, of course, is that you're lined up, you're sitting down lined up on opposite sides, or at least in a class you would be. And you have to crab walk to the center to try to get an object and bring it back to, where you're at. So I'm just curious what names that goes by in other areas, because I feel like it's probably not always Steal the Bacon.
Well, let us know,
Yeah.
loyal listeners.
If that was a game that you played as a kid in gym class or playground or whatever, curious to know what you guys called it.
Now here's an interesting bit on Wild and Crazy Kids specifically. This is one of the only, maybe the only Nickelodeon game show that had no prizes.
What?
Yeah, You were fighting
It was
for
just for the love of the slime?
Fighting for honor for the love of the slime. Yeah.
It was just for the love of the goop?
The love of the goop. Yeah.
Wow.
You didn't win anything. You weren't winning any Funkin' Wagnalls encyclopedia sets like you were on Double Dare or VCRs.
Oh, man. Certainly no aggro crags.
Certainly no aggro crags. No, you were doing...
They didn't have a budget. Once again, they are filming illegally in public parks, I assume.
Yes.
So they don't... They blew their budget on eggs.
These are guerrilla shoots.
And these are... they blew their budget on eggs and pool footballs that get full of water and get really heavy and hurt really bad when you hit your friends with them.
Yes.
That's where all their budget went. So... They do not have enough money for you to get a prize.
No. The prize is bragging rights. It's your honor intact.
It's meeting Omar Gooding.
It's meeting
That's your
Omar
prize.
Gooding. Is that not prize enough, people?
Yeah. Yeah. Brother to future Academy Award winner Cuba.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's your prize. You met Omar Gooding. And you got to... Sold. Yep. You got slimed, probably.
I feel like this one was a little after our time.
Yeah. This was Figure It Out.
Yes.
This was 97 to 99, with, of course, a short revival later in the 2000s. And yeah, I don't remember this one. Let me, while you're telling the world about it, let me, Google this and see if this sparks any memories for me.
Yeah, you basically it's an adaptation of What's My Line, I've Got a Secret, those types of shows.
Oh.
So essentially, kids from the audience with special skills or unique achievements would be the contestants, and then you'd have a panel of Nickelodeon celebrities most of the time.
Okay, yeah, a lot of all that cast.
Trying to guess the phrase or what the child's talent or skill or achievement or whatever is. There's something funny or weird, and so you would have Nickelodeon celebrities some of the regulars were Lori Beth Denberg from all of that. She was on all the time.
Yep.
Amanda Bynes was on all the time.
Yep.
Danny Tamborelli.
Now I remember this giant head.
Yeah.
That the questions that the phrases were on.
Yeah.
That I do remember, but I remember nothing else about this. Nothing else looks familiar.
I
to me.
remember it a bit. I think I was kind of getting a little old for Nickelodeon by the time this came around, but I do remember it a bit.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't remember this a ton. But it only had a couple seasons. It wasn't, I guess, as at least again not for us because we were kind of phasing out of Nickelodeon by this point. Maybe not quite the impact that, say, a Legends of the Hidden Temple.
Right. And
had.
Because we are old as fuck, as we've established.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
One that I remember a lot more that probably a lot of people don't remember as much as Figure It Out would be Finders Keepers.
Fuck yes.
Amie, tell me about Finders Keepers, because I feel like this one has special meaning to us, even if it wasn't the most popular or well remembered of the Nickelodeon game shows.
So this is the other one that Justin was talking about that has the cross section. It's the inside of a house. Yeah. It's 2 levels. This is hosted by Wesley Ury. Is that how you say that name? I don't recall the host very much, but I recall the set.
The set
and I recall
was
having the game.
We definitely had the home game of Finders Keepers.
We had the home game, and there is a photo of me on my birthday, I believe, holding that game up. I had just gotten it for my birthday. And gosh, I was born in 87 when this show came on, and it only ran till 89. So it was clearly still in syndication because I was probably 4 or 5 when we got the game.
Yeah.
So it was obviously, because it's like a board game, right?
Yeah.
So it's obviously, it must have still been.
You had the buzzer thing, remember? The yellow buzzer kind of timer.
Oh my god. So the point of the game, the television game show was, it was 2 rounds. So you had 2 halves. The first round was like you had to find like hidden pictures,
Yes.
right, in like this big drawing, and then the second half you would ransack all the rooms. So
Yeah,
you would
so
go
it was set up
through-
like a big house with all like the kind
Yes.
of rooms that would typically be in a house, though they were always sort of stylized or
Yes.
you know, something kind of fun or quirky about them.
Yeah.
And yeah,
They looked very much like any set of like a show on Nickelodeon at that time.
Yes.
Like I know Clarissa was a little bit lit, but kind of like, you know, the rooms would look maybe like Clarissa's room, or like, you know, kind of just that very specific way that old Nickelodeon shows like the sets were dressed, you know, like
yeah. And so
it's just so
the
good.
room to room romp, I think, is what it was called at the end, where you
oh yeah,
you have like, so you had like 6 rooms, and you would have to find a hidden object in each of the rooms, and then
In
when you
each
found
room,
the
yep.
object, it would have like a tag on it, giving you like a clue for the next one in the next, like where you could find the one in the next room.
Okay, kind of like a supermarket sweep. Or not super, yeah, it's like the end of supermarket sweep where you'd have to go find the one thing,
Yeah.
and then it would have the clue for the next.
But this,
thing.
you had to collect all 6.
Yes.
Yeah, within you know, it was like 90 seconds or like 2 minutes or something. It was
Yeah, it's not a long
it was
time.
Quick, yeah.
It was not a long time. Yeah. Yeah, I do remember this really, really well. But probably because it was so early and it didn't have a long run, I could imagine, you know, even other kids our age maybe not watching that one as much. But obviously it was in syndication.
Yeah.
Because we were definitely watching it,
popular
past
enough
89.
to have a home version.
Yeah, like probably after the game was, or after the show was over.
Yeah, probably.
It probably was more popular in syndication.
I just remember that being a very early memory, like an early.
Yes,
so
me
you
too.
probably would have been younger than you might even be thinking than when you got that, because I feel like we had it early on.
Yeah. I don't know. I bet I could find that picture pretty easily of me holding up that game.
There you go.
And probably has the date on it. I'm imagining it's 90 or 91 probably.
Yeah, maybe.
So, yeah. But yeah, loved Finders Keepers. Loved the whole the way the set was designed.
Yeah, it's still like
Everything.
I pulled up sort of a little bit of it and watched, and it's still just such a cool looking set. I loved it.
It is. Oh, I love it. Now the this next one, frankly I don't remember it.
You don't remember Nick Arcade?
I really don't think I watched it much. I mean, I remember it as in like I've heard about it, and I know other people have talked about it, but I don't recall watching it a lot.
Nick Arcade was the Nickelodeon video game show. And
Yeah.
so you had like different rounds, and this was actually like really cool and unique. Although there were several episodes of it, but it really only the original run of it was only in 1992. I think it was like technically 2 seasons, but I mean, other than 1992,
2 seasons?
2 seasons. God. But obviously, this is one again that ran. You know, they ran those 2 seasons all the time in syndication.
Yep.
You'd have
Yep.
to like, so you'd have like they had these like little video games at the beginning that were like specifically designed for the show, like these little like basic games, like a Metroids type of game that you like sort of like to who gets the advantage, and then you'd have like the first part that was like the big interactive board game. And they would have Mikey the Video Adventurer. He was like their cartoon mascot, and you're trying to like navigate him around the big interactive board.
I really don't remember watching this at all.
Really?
I mean, I'm sure that I've seen an episode or 2, but
Okay.
this was not one that I watched.
The part I remember the most is the Video Zone, and the Video Zone was like the live action video game. And so they would be like the contestants, the kids would be backstage in front of like a blue screen, and they would have like they could see themselves on a monitor. And it was like they were like virtually put into a video game, so they're like trying to do things. They're in front of the green or in front of the blue screen.
Now that sounds kind of familiar. Maybe I've seen clips of that.
Like running up a ladder or do it.
Yeah. Okay.
That's the part I remember the most, is that
Early
video
VR.
zone. Yes, it was early VR for sure.
Yeah.
And all of
Oh
this
my
was to get
gosh.
to the wizard level, where you had like the three big bad guys, and they would rotate, depending on the episode as who you would face. You had
okay.
the evil wizard Murloc. He was the guy with lightning bolts. And then you had Scorchia, which was like the fireball lady.
Okay.
And then Mongo, not Steve Mongo McMichael, but Mongo, the armor-clad monster who tossed like balls of energy or something.
Energy balls?
Energy balls? Delicious energy balls full of vitamins and nutrients.
Yes. Yum. Yeah, I don't remember. I think that the Video Zone was the one that when you described that, like, that sounds familiar.
The Video Zone for me was the most memorable part of Nick Arcade.
Okay.
For sure.
That must be the only part that I remember.
And really kind of a cool, unique premise.
Yeah, it kind of is.
Like unique gameplay,
Yeah. Very interesting. I wonder why it didn't run for longer. Maybe it was expensive to make.
It was like that was my initial thought. Was I wonder if like the technology made it kind of too expensive, but it was a really cool show. That and I mean, it was 1992. You're at the peak of like the
game show,
like video. Like I mean, this is like the year the Super Nintendo comes out and shit. Like I mean,
yeah, that's true. Yeah, you would think that it would have been more popular.
Nintendo
I bet it was
and Sega
expensive.
were just at like the peak of their like early 90s popularity there.
Well, they were spending all their money on eggs, so they did not have the funds to keep that show
egg
going.
budget was just ballooning out of control by 92.
It really was. Eggs and milk. Yeah. The dairy in general budget, because then you had the cream for the cream pies. I mean, it was a lot of dairy.
It was a lot.
Maybe that's why we're all lactose intolerant.
Because
Also big milk.
Big milk.
Pushing that on us very much in the 90s. Yeah, that's why that's why all our tummies hurt. Now, this last show we're going to talk about, I absolutely remember, and I feel like we were bookending this episode because we started talking about Mark Summers, and now we're going to end talking about Mark Summers.
Which is,
because really, this episode's about Mark Summers.
He is the alpha and the omega of Nickelodeon game shows.
He really is. Would love to have Mark Summers on the show sometime. You think we could snag that?
Anytime he wants.
Anytime. Mark, have your people call our people.
Mark, we love you, Mark.
Mark, we do love you. Also, I want to talk about Unwrapped as well. So, For sure. This was like also the theme song.
What would you do? What would you do?
What
would you do?
You do. This was from 91 to 93. So right there in that sweet spot.
Ooh, them's the
Nickelodeon,
good years.
Them's were the good years. It's really been downhill ever since that. Yeah, this had like they would show like pre-recorded scenes. They're very like weird situations, right?
Right.
And then they would poll the audience.
Yeah.
On like
what would they do?
And then what would they do? Yeah. And then I guess would they pull people out of the audience? Is that how they got contestants?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah.
What would you do? I remember being like complete audience participation.
Okay. Just chaos. It was just chaos, like the Wild West.
It was like the Wild West, but instead of bullets, it's cream pies.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Well, at least they didn't have bullets. That's good. The cream pie and the throwing cream pies in people's faces and things like that. That was integral to the plot of this show. This was integral to...
The word plot's doing a lot of hard work there.
Well, okay, not the plot, but the process of the show.
The pie pod, the pie slide.
Pie pendulum. It's a very pie heavy show.
It's extremely pie heavy.
Mm-hmm. And can you imagine all these pies they're making just to be destroyed? Who's making all these pies? There's some old granny
So,
somewhere
no.
making all these
Well,
damn pies.
these aren't even really pies. It's a stagehand. That they're pie crusts with whipped cream in them. It's not even a real pie.
I guess that's true.
You know, there's not a.
Somebody's whipping all them pies though.
Yeah, there's probably just they got an intern in the back
assembly line.
with a table full of pie crusts that they bought at
Yeah.
the A&P or the Winn-Dixie. And several cans of whipped cream, and they're just filling them up. That's all they are.
Man, oh man. You think I feel like the stores in the Orlando area must have just been running out of eggs and milk and whipped cream.
It was
and pie
a
crusts.
real crisis in Central Florida in the early 90s.
Yeah, there was just a run on dairy.
Yes.
Just to keep Nickelodeon Studios up and running.
Yes.
Plus, we don't even know what's in the slime. That could just
That could be milk too. There's probably milk in that.
That could be milk.
Yep.
I mean,
That's an
milk
excellent
in the 90s, I'm telling you.
point.
Oh, just the smell of milk. So gross.
Yeah, milk's
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Oh, you know those sets just all stunk of milk.
Well, they gotta clean it or it'll crust.
Oh,
The
gross.
milk will get stinky and crusty.
Yeah, Double Dare. You know that whole set, that whole stage. And you can clean it, but it's still going to be there.
You gotta get some like hard stuff. You gotta get some bleach and some
Because,
turpentine
and it's
in
like
there.
days. They probably did a few episodes a day
Yeah.
of Double Dare. So I mean, that's just it's in the seats.
In the fibers. It's in the air.
It is
Spoiled
yeah.
milk particles in the air.
Oh man,
Funky old oatmeal.
I think we've talked about milk more on this podcast than I've ever talked about milk actually in my whole life.
Well, this has been Snack Attack, Milk Attack.
Well, I mean, we did have a cereal episode. We didn't talk about milk as much in the cereal episode.
We definitely didn't. We definitely didn't.
Yeah. This was a good one though, and this one was like this was just chaos. If I recall,
It was
Mark Summers is just
barely
trying his
had
best.
it barely had any structure to it. Honestly, from what I recall, it was just excuses to throw pies at shit, and like they would like anything you can do, I can do better. Just having people get messy and gross and funny and.
Yeah,
and they would always get the parent. Usually, like they get the parents and the kids involved, both. So.
Oh yeah. I remember that. You know what this episode has taught me, Justin?
That eggs used to be a lot cheaper than they are right now.
Eggs used to be a lot cheaper, but mostly that Nickelodeon's fucking great. And
are you just now realizing that?
No. It's nice to be reminded.
Yeah.
It
really was.
It's nice
it really
to
was
remember
great.
how great. And I'm not saying Nickelodeon's not great now because I don't watch it. So I'm sure that all of the you had like the 2000s Nickelodeon.
Well, that's the thing
very
at this
big.
point. You've got a couple different generations that all have their love and nostalgia for different eras of Nickelodeon.
Yeah, absolutely. But this era, I'm not gonna say it's better than the others because I never watched the others.
But it is.
But it is. And it just really slaps.
Yeah. Just
Mark Summers is out here just. What's Mark doing right now?
he has.
Should we at him on Twitter?
Actually, I tagged him in our Instagram post today.
Oh my God! Did you really?
Well, it was.
Do you think he'll?
It was about Double Dare.
Yeah, I saw that. Oh man, he's 71.
He doesn't look it. One of the first pictures
He
on his
does
Instagram right
not.
now is him with Guy Fieri.
Oh shit! I love him too.
Yeah, I know, right?
Oh my God!
I think he's his Mark Maron
He-
episode just dropped. Also,
Wait a minute. What? He has a podcast?
he has a new podcast, Mark Summers Unwraps. There you go. We're gonna.
Oh my God!
You're gonna get that Cool Kids Club bump, Mark. Mark Summers Unwraps has a
my-
new podcast. He also has a
episode with Mark
episode
Maron,
of
yeah.
WTF with Mark Maron. So check out.
He does not look 71.
He looks great.
He looks. I mean, his hair's white, but
Yeah, sure.
I mean, Mark, you're looking great. We love you, Mark. If you're listening,
Come on our show. We don't have quite the reach that Mark Maron does, but it's close.
It's.
I
we're
imagine.
basically
I imagine
second.
it's close. Yeah, it's Mark Maron and then us.
Yeah.
We're We're gonna get.
And then Dax Shepard.
We're gonna. Yeah.
But he's after us.
Yeah, he's after us.
I'm sure he's after us.
Any day now, we're gonna get a former president to be on our podcast.
That's right. Any day now. We can't even get Mark.
I'd be happy to talk to Mark Summers. That's all I need.
Yeah, that really is all I need. Oh my God, I would be so starstruck. Literally.
Oh, for sure.
So starstruck. Well, this has just been the Mark Summers hour.
Good, as it should.
Mark
As
Summers
it should
and
be.
Milk. Mark Summers and
Mark
Milk.
and Milk and Mike O'Malley.
Mark Milk, Mike O'Malley.
Mark and Mike Milk Mania.
We better wrap this up before we get.
It feels like it's reaching its natural endpoint, doesn't it?
Usually things start to fall apart around the hour
mark.
And,
Yeah.
Well,
And hey, here we are at the hour mark.
And here we are. Well, let's see. If you are not already following us on social media, please head over to Instagram or Twitter or both, and follow us at Cool Kids Club Pod. We're always very active, especially on our Instagram, interacting with people. So we would love to chat with you about all things nostalgia. And you can also find us on Facebook if you search for Cool Kids Club Podcast over there. You can find me personally on Instagram at Amy Reads TN, even though I do not have a YouTube channel called Amy Reads anymore. I mean, it exists. But I'm not going to change my name because I still do read.
She do the reads.
I do be reading and I do be in TN. So, I'm just going to keep it, I guess. And also because
when it works, it works.
Everything else revolving my name is taken. So, but I'm over there on the Instagram if you want to come follow me and hang out. Justin, where can the good people find you on the internet?
Well, you can follow me personally on Instagram at Lousy with Ghosts. I also want to add, if you want a free, easy way to support the show, if you enjoy the show, go leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you got this. That helps us out a ton. And
it does help us out.
Yeah.
That's one step closer to Mark Summers if you could actually go do that.
Yes, I mean,
we need to look reputable.
It can only help our case getting Mark to try to get Mark Summers on the show.
Should we start a hashtag?
Maybe.
Get Mark Summers on CKC. Something
honestly,
like that.
honestly, I feel like there's a lot of really great members of the nostalgia community, for lack of a better term, that I feel like we could get a little bit of a thing going here with our fellow nostalgia podcasters. Get Mark Summers to come on Cool Kids Club.
Oh my God. I'm just literally, I'm envisioning some amazing, almost grassroots type of, like the internet's going to work its magic. And in like 3 weeks, Mark Summers is going to be on the podcast.
Oh, it's going to, yeah, I'm just telling you right now, it ain't going to happen. But
yeah, I know it's not, but you know what?
Anything is
Mark
possible.
Could just say
Anything's
hello,
possible.
Anything is possible.
I'm going to buy a Mark Summers cameo and act like we got him to come on the show.
Be like, please act like you're on our podcast.
Answer the couple of questions like as if you were on a podcast.
And Amy will plug them in.
Amy will edit the audio. Yeah.
We'll be like, "Hi, Mark. How are you doing today?" He's like, "Hi, Justin and Amy with the Cool Kids podcast."
Great story, Mark.
Guys, we've got it all figured out.
Hey,
soon.
Before we go, shout out to Brian Wakefield for our theme song. BrianWakefieldMusic.com. Thank you, buddy. Love you. Love the music. Love Mark Summers.
Love Mark.
Hashtag Mark Summers on CKC.
That's right. Get him on. Yeah. Get him on the show. All right. We're gonna wrap this up. And I guess until next time, I guess just stay cool.
You don't have a choice, Franklin.
No.